इंडियन हिस्ट्री में आज जहाँ से हम लोग शुरू करेंगे वो जो है सो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट चैप्टर है एंशियंट इंडिया का, ओरिजिन ऑफ मौर्याज। ठीक है, तो यहाँ से हम लोग जहाँ से शुरू करते हैं, द मौर्य एम्पायर वाज बिल्ट ऑन द फाउंडेशन लेड बाय द नंदाज इन बुद्धिस्ट टेक्स्ट दिग्ग निकाय, महाअफसान and Divyavadan. The Mauryans are described as belonging to Kshatriya clan called the Mauryas. Parsistiparvam describes Chandragupta as the son of the daughter of a chief of a village of peacock tamers. Mayur Posak Mudra Rakshas refers Chandragupta as belonging to the low social origin. Early medieval historian Semendra and Somdev called him Purvanand Sut, son of the genuine Nanda. Vishnu Puran's commentator Dhundi Raj stated that the Chandragupta, son of Nanda king, Sarvasthi Siddhi by Mura, daughter of hunter. ये जो था तो उसके सोर्स से रिलेटेड था। ठीक है ना। अब जो है सो जो किंग से रिलेटेड है, जो मुख्य बिंदु है उसके बारे में, मेन जो पॉइंट है उसके बारे में हम लोग बात कर लेते हैं। चंद्रगुप्त may have the first established himself in the Punjab and then moved eastward until the gained control over the Magad region. Purans Milinpan Mudra Rakshas Mahavams Satika and persistent Parvan refers his conflict with Nandaj. Tradition is that he overthrew the Nandaj with the help of the great Kautilya. The only definite inscription reference to the Chandragupta is in the 2nd century CE Junagadh inscription of Rudradaman, which attribute the beginning of the construction of a water reservoir known as the Sudarshan Lake to Chandragupta's regime. Sangam text for Chandragupta Maurya, a poem in the Akana Nuru, composed by the Sangam poet Mamular, seems to be referring to conquest of Chandragupta in south. A reference in the Sangam text suggests that the Mauryas interfered in the politics of south, that they had an alliance with a southern power called the Kosar, probably located in North Karnataka, and that Deccani troops formed part of the Mauryan Empire. Relation between Chandragupta, Jainism and Karnataka. Some later inscription and Jain texts suggest a connection between Chandragupta, Jainism and Karnataka. A number of places in the Shravan-Belgola hills have the word Chandra as their suffix. Jain tradition speaks of the relationship between Chandragupta and the Jain Sant Bhadrabahu. The Mauryan king is said to have accompanied Bhadrabahu to Karnataka in the wake of Sant's prophecy of the impending outbreak of 12-year famine in Magad. The king is also described as having committed Salekhana, ritual death by starvation. Brihat Katha Kosh of Harisen, 10th century, narrate this story. After the Chandragupta Maurya, the second king who ascended the throne, Bindusar. Buddhist sources are relatively silent on Bindusar. There is a story on an Ajivika fortune teller prophesying his son Asoka's future greatness, which may suggest that a king favored the Ajivikas. Greek source refers to his diplomatic relation with Western king. According to Strabo, Anti- Antiochus, king of Syria, sent an ambassador named Demetrius to his court. Pliny mentioned that Ptolemy II, Philadelphus, king of Egypt, sent an ambassador named Dionysius. There is a story that Bindusar requested Antiochus to buy and spend him some sweet wine, dried figs, and a sophist, a philosopher who specialized in philosophical debate and argumentation. Antiochus is supposed to have replied that while he would certainly send the wine and fig, Greek laws did not permit a sophist to be bought. A fragmentary inscription at Sanchi, which perhaps refers to the Bindusar, suggests a possible connection between the king and this Buddhist establishment. ये बिंदुसार से रिलेटेड था। अब इसके बाद जो किंग एसेंडेड हुए उनका नाम है द ग्रेट अशोका। ठीक है ना, ये इस अपने समय के महान सम्राट में जो है इनकी गिनती होती है अशोका। द दीप वंश एंड महावंश रेफर्स टू अशोका किलिंग 99 brothers, sparing only one named Tissa. He was helped by his father's minister, but a minister named Radhagupta seems to have played an especially important role. Buddhist texts have a great deal to say about Ashoka's 268 से 232 BC. We have to be careful while considering their version of events because of his close association with Buddhism. Ashoka is presented as a great ideal king in the Buddhist tradition, and account of his reign and personality in these texts is neither objective nor dispassionate. During his father's reign, Ashoka was stationed as a governor at Ujjaini, and before that possibly at Taxila, or he may not just gone there to put down a or he may have just gone there to put down a revolt. The Deep Vans and Mahavans tells the love story of Ashoka and Devi, daughters, a merchant of Vidisha. Devi went on to become the mother of Ashoka's celebrated children, Mahendra and Sanghamitra, both of whom eventually joined Buddhist Sangh. An inscription on the Allahabad Kosam pillar mentioned gifts made by Queen Kauruvaki. Next, King Kaminuro Brihadarath. The Mauryan Empire declined after Ashoka's reign, and later king ruled for only short periods. The empire weakened and came to an end when the last Mauryan king Brihadarath was assassinated by the military commander Pushyamitra Sung in 187 BC. Now we will talk about Kalinga War impact. After his accession to the throne, Ashoka fought only one major war called the Kalinga War. In this war, 1 lakh people were killed and 1,50,000 people were taken as a prisoner. The war brought to the Brahmanists and the Buddhist monk great suffering, which caused Ashoka much grief and remorse. So he abandoned the policy of physical occupation in favor of policy of cultural conquest, meaning Bheri Ghosh was replaced by the Dharm Ghosh. Mentioned in the 13th Major Rock Edict. After the Kalinga War, he tried to conquer the foreign dominions ideologically rather than by the military conquest. Ashoka retained Kalinga after its conquest and incorporated it into his empire. The Kalinga War did not make Ashoka an extreme pacifist. He rather adopted a practical policy of consolidating his empire. He repeatedly asked the tribal people to follow the policy of dharma and threatened them not to violate the established rule of the social order and righteousness dharma. He appointed a class of officers rajukas who were interested with the power of administrative justice. Asoka converted to Buddhism as a result of Kaling War. He became a monk and made huge gift to the Buddhism and undertook dharma yatras, pilgrimage to the Buddhist shrine. The Buddhist council was held under the chairmanship of his brother, and missionaries were sent to the South Indias, Sri Lanka, Burma, and other countries to convert the people to Buddhism. Asoka appointed Dharma Mahamatras for propagating Dharma among various social order, including women. Asoka's legacy. Asoka is considered a great missionary ruler in the history of ancient India and also the world. Some of his path-breaking achievements are given below. Political unification of the country. He bound the whole country together by one dharma, one language, and practically one script of Brahmi, which is used in most of his inscription. A spread of tolerance and respect. He adopted the priest tolerance in a religious sphere as well as in case of script and language. He did not try to force his religious faith on his subject. Instead, he gave donation to non-Buddhist sect as well, such as donating Barbara Cave to the Ajivika sect. He respected scripts other than Brahmi like Kharosthi, Aramaic and Greek. Promotion of cultural contact. Apart from being in the innovative changes in the administration, he also promoted cultural contact between two states, between India and other outer world too. It would not be exaggerated if Asoka is considered the first global cultural ambassador of India policy of peace and non-aggression. Asoka is known for his policy of peace, non-conquest, and non-aggression. Now we will talk about Mauryan administration. The Mauryan period was marked by the innovative administrative policies. The king was the fountainhead of all powers. Though it is said that the Mauryan king, especially Asoka, claimed paternal despotism rather than divine rule. In Arthashastra, the concept of Saptang Raj has been mentioned, which means that a state comprises seven interrelated and interlocked angas of the Prakriti's elements. King, Swamin. According to the Kautilya, the king was the dharma pravartak or promulgated of the social order as he issued Raja Sasan, royal restrict royal scripts, and maintained Purana Pakiti, that is ancient rule and custom. He was assisted by a council of ministers, but he took final decision by himself regarding law, order, revenue, war, etc. In one of his rock edicts, Asoka had declared that even common man people could meet him anytime. The king had to exercise great vigilance to safeguard his life and position. Various types of spies collected intelligence and reported the same to the king. For example, there is a sanstha or stationary spies who were posted permanently at a particular region, and sanchar who wandered from place to place collected secret information. The special reporter of the king, Pati Bedakaj, and Pulisani kept him informed of public opinion. Mauryan administration, Amatya, all high officials, councillor and executive head of the department, ministers, Mantri Parishad, a council of ministers, was appointed by the king to assist him in day-to-day affairs of administration. Mantri Parishad is the comparatively a large body than Mantri Parishad. They exercised a great influence in the appointment of governor, viceroy, deputy governor, treasurer, judge, and other high officials. The Mahamantri or the high ministers also at- attended the meeting of the Mantri Parishad. The Mahamantri receives 48,000 pana, pana being a silver coin equal to 3/4 of a tola per annum, while the members of the Mantri Parishad received only 12,000 pana per annum. There was also bodies of Nikais, trained officials who looked after the ordinary affairs of the region. Important functionaries were called Tirthas. The highest functionaries were minister, mantrin, and high priest Purohit, commander-in-chief, senapati, and crown prince Yuvraj. The officials who were in charge of the important portfolio were known as Amatyas. Also filled the administrative and judicial appointment Mahamraj and Adhyakshas. The state appointed 27 Adhyakshas, superintendents, mostly to regulate economic relatives of the state. They controlled and regulate agriculture, trade, commerce, weight and measures, crafts, etc., such as weaving and spinning, mining, etc. The Mauryan period constitutes a landmark in the system of taxation in ancient India. Kautilya names many taxes to be collected from the peasants, artisans, and traders. This required a strong, efficient machinery for assessment, collection, and storage. The Samahartaj was the highest officer in charge of the assessment, and Samahartaj was the chief custodian of the state treasury and storehouse. Janpada territory or population. The Mauryan Empire was divided into four provinces apart from the Magad, with its capital at Patliputra. During the reign of Ashoka, a fifth province of Kaling was also incorporated. Uttarapath, northwestern India, capital at Dakshinapath. Southern India, capital at Suvarnagiri. Eastern India, capital at Tosali. Avan, Avantirath, capital at Ujjain, Kalinga capital at Tasali or Dholi. The head of the provincial the head of the provincial administration was the viceroy, who was in charge of law and order and collection of taxes from the center. He was generally a prince from the royal family, Kumar or Ariputra, and was assisted by the Mahamahtaj and a council of ministers. The province were further divided into division headed by Pradeshik Kaj, which no advisory council. Divisions were divided into district headed by Rajukaj. Rajuj means rope and refers to the measurement of the land using ropes. He was assisted by Yuktaj. Districts were divided into group of 5 to 10 villages headed by the Asthanikas, who collected taxes, who were assisted by Gopaj, maintained proper record and accounts. The lowest unit of the administration was the village, headed by Gramin and Gramika. On the consultation of Gram Vridhaj, elder of the village, the administration was thus in the nature of pyramid, and the Gramins at the bottom and the king at the top. Durg, fortified capital. The Mauryans maintained a huge army. Ast Mahamahtaj higher officials were responsible for the security of frontier forts. The detailed direction from the construction of the main forts in the capital city were given by the Kautilya. He recommended troops to be positioned along the approaches to the fort, and fort's wall to be surrounded by three moats filled with lotuses and crocodiles. He also suggested that the forts should have several secret exit routes, and B provides with plenty of supplies to tide over size. Kautilya strongly approves an adequately trained standing army which was supposed to be recruited from all four Varnas and maintained by the state. Megasthenes reported that the administration of the different branches of army was carried through a war officer comprising 30 members, and it was divided into six board of 5 members. The board of admiralty in charge of the navy through Kautilya does not mentioned in navy. The board of infantry headed by the Padya Padadhyakshaj, the board of cavalry headed by the Ashwadhyakshaj, the board of the chariot headed by the Rathadhyakshaj, the board of the war elephant headed by the Hastyadhyakshaj, the board of the transport and supervision of equipment. In addition to these, there is a mention of period leave of troop like Maula, hereditary warrior, and Bharti, Bhartiyakas, mercenaries, and forest tribe, soldier and allies furnished by friend. Coast treasury. The state taxes were not sufficient to meet all the needs of the state, like maintaining a huge standing army, employment of a huge number of state officials, the building of roads. Therefore, the Mauryan Empire had to undertake and regulate numerous economic activity to generate more and more resources. Taxes were levied in both cash and kind. Land revenue was the major source of income. Peasants had to pay 1/6 of the produce as bhag and extra tax bali as tribute. Peasants had to pay many other taxes like Pindakara, assessed on a group of village. Hiranya paid only in cash. Kar levied on fruits and flowers garden. The class of official who collected land tax was called agronomoi Megasthenes. In addition, the Arthashastra states that the amount of tax would also depend on the nature of irrigation facilities and would range from 1/4 to 1/3 of the produce. However, there is no reference in any text of taking away the land of the farmers case of non-payment of taxes. Kautilya also mentioned certain emergency taxes, pranya, or the additional taxes that the state could impose if the treasury got depleted. One of the important results of the political unification of India under the Mauryan and the control of the strong centralized government was the impetus given to various crafts. Craft activities were also important source of the revenue to the state. Artisans living in the town had to pay taxes either in cash or kind of work preferred king. Bisthi forced labor. There is no mention. There is mention of Kara Makara Kara, who were regarded as the free laborer working for a regular wages, and the dasas, who were slaves. Traders and artisans were organized into corporate associations called srenis or guilds or pagas to protect their rights. Of these guilds were headed by Jesthaj. Guild of the textile merchant must have been prominent at that time, as the Arthashastra mentioned several places in the country which specialized in textile. The main center of the textile manufacturing were Varanasi, Mathura, Bengal, Gandhar, and Ujjain. The state-run textile workshop were placed under Sutradhyakshaj and chariot workshop under a Rathadhyakshaj. Mining and metallurgy were other important economic activities, and the mine officer was also called Akaranadhyakshaj. The Mauryan maintained a monopoly over the production of iron, which was in great demand by the army industry and agriculture. The officer in charge was named Lohadhyakshaj. There was a brisk internal trade among different regions in the various types of goods. Patliputra was connected through various trade routes with all parts of the subcontinent. Taxila was main center of trade in the northwest, which was further connected with Central Asian market. Trade routes of the Mauryan period followed either the main highway or navigable rivers. Urban taxes including sulkas, duties on imported and exported goods, and excise duties on local manufacturers. The use of currency became a fairly common feature of the Mauryan period. The punch-marked silver coin carrying a symbol of the peacock hill and a crescent called panaj formed the imperial currency. Kautilya refers to the state officer in charge of coinage of rupa draksha about the practice of usury. Megasthenes stated that the Indian neither put out money on usury, lending of money at the high interest rate, nor knew how to borrow. Thus, during the Mauryan reign, there was extensive participation of the state in the economy, and the state exercised great regulation and control over the economy. Dand and Bala, justice and force. The king was the head of the justice, the fountainhead of law, and all matter of grave consequences were decided by him. Kautilya refers to the existence of two types of courts: dharmasthiyas dealing with the civil matter, and kantaka sodhanas dealing with the criminal cases. Judges were called dharmasthas. Through Ashokan inscriptions mentions city Mahatmas who were also given judicial functions. The Pradesh Three were the officer responsible for the suppression of criminal. The jail proper, Bhandanagara, was different from the police lockup called Chakra. Punishment to the persons found guilty by the court were very severe, like amputation of limb, decapitation, fines, etc. The nature of the punishment depended on the severity of the crimes as well as the burden of the offender and the plaintiffs. Kautilya mentioned about four sources of law: dharma, sacred law; charitam, custom and precedents; and vyavhara, usage; and raja shasana, royal proclamation. These are the facts about the Ashoka and Maurya administration, which covers almost all things. Whatever remain will be discussed later on. I think many of them have been covered, so please go through, listen it repeatedly, note down, and make your own notes, and subscribe for further notification and videos. Thank you very much. All the best.